Good afternoon everyone, I'm Chris and welcome back to another episode of Rift Amps. You join me with a new camera mount in the car because I am, as you might see on the trailer behind me, got the race car on the back, heading up to a friend's workshop. Its car's going in for its winter upgrades, mainly getting its new gearbox. Because as you know, the gearbox in the race car has slowly been dying over the last year or so. It's now completely lost reverse gear. You might manage to get reverse 1 in every 20 times or something. It's just gone. Fifth is getting close to on its way out because it's on the same selector shaft, and same with sixth gear. So it's time to put the spare gearbox in. The one that regular viewers of the channel will have seen me do before. Remember, I picked it up cheap over the summer. I refurbed it, did all the seals, gaskets, a couple of bolts and things, rebuilt the shifter mechanism. So that's going to go in the car. Now, of course, whilst you're in there, those jobs, gearbox off, you can inspect the clutch. There is the release bearing that needs replacing. There's a little bearing that sits inside the flywheel, so if that needs doing, which I suspect it does, that will be done at the same time. And of course there's the rear main crankshaft seal, which can leak, and so whilst you've got all of that other stuff off, if it is leaking you may as well replace it. So we're doing that too, and of course new gearbox oil whilst it's all in and out. So that's what it's going in for. There's also the crash damage, which needs sorting, which mainly the lower bottom arm. So I've got one of my used units which is going on there. New tie or track rod ends, whatever you want to call them. New tie rods themselves, the drumsticks, they get bent. So it's getting all new of those as well. And there was something else. Oh, new if needed, new bottom ball joints as well, but they're only a year old, so I don't suspect they need doing, but one's been an accident, so if they need doing, they can go on, and that's fine. But whilst we're in the car and we're on the journey up there, not going to leave this time unused, so we may as well do the Q&A. Apologies if these aren't in order. It's simply because the way they're coming up on my phone as I drive. So yeah, it may be going back and forth between a few subjects, but that's just the way it is. So starting with the Fender Princeton replica, clone, copy, whatever you want to call it, 74 Canal said, "Hey Chris, did you do any modifications fix on the reverb circuit? It had a strange effect on the output sine wave and was noisy." And then there was a reply to that where Robert said, "+1 Chris, intrigued as to what cause of the reverb hum was." Well, yes, I did do some fixes on it as part of the service. Pretty standard stuff, to be honest. The three things that I did. The first thing was the reverb driver is a 1287, and both halves of that envelope are in parallel. And what the builder had done is the anode wire connecting pin 1 to 6, they'd gone over the socket. Now, if you go around the socket with the wire, just like Fender did, it doesn't cause any problems. If you go over the socket alongside the cathode and the grid wires, then you do introduce a risk of oscillation. So that's been done, gone around the socket. I also added a small snubber cap from anode to cathode on the socket itself, a 470 picofarad, and that really makes a difference, helps stabilize that, especially when the lead dress isn't optimal. And the final thing that I did was well, I tell a lie, I moved the B+ feed for the reverb driver itself downstream one to the unused node, and undid the Stokes mod. So the reverb now has its own dedicated filter node, which is one further downstream. So it's got an extra level of filtering, and that just removes pretty much all of that hum, apart from when the reverb control is at maximum and the transducers in the tank are picking up stray noise. So yeah, but that's all that was. Pretty standard stuff. You do have to change the value of the resistors in the B+ string to keep your preamp voltages the same. I think Psionic does a similar mod, but it's all pretty standard Princeton reverby stuff. Nothing exciting, nothing major, all par for the course. Pete Brown, channel member, says, "Hi Chris, love the video. In relation to the Tweed Champ, what's the death cap and why is it called that?" Death cap, colloquial term, of course, for a capacitor which Fender added to the main side of the amplifiers, going from the live directly to chassis. On the really old Fenders with the old 2-prong American plugs, they were non-polarized, those plugs, so they could be inserted into the live and neutral either way. And traditionally what you'd do is you would choose whichever way was the quietest. One side would be noisier than the other, so you just reverse the plug. Fender didn't want their musicians doing that, so they added what they called a ground switch, which allowed the you to reverse the phasing, the live and the neutral round, by doing it with a switch on the amp. So you just put that switch in whichever position was quietest. On the output of that switch, feeding into the rest of the amp, they had this capacitor going to chassis just to do a little bit of filtering. You know, filter any noise that's on the B+ line, so not the B+ line, the mains line to chassis. What do we know about capacitors? Well, when they fail, unless they're an X, a Y, or an XY cap, they fail by shorting rather than going open like a resistor does. So when that cap starts to leak and starts to fail, you now start to leak mains voltage directly to chassis. Now, if you haven't done a 3-prong conversion, that means that chassis can go live, and therefore your guitar strings, by virtue of being connected through the grounding circuit, become live as well. Hence the name death cap. So with a 3-prong conversion, you just remove the cap. You don't physically need to remove it from the amplifier. You can just snip it out and isolate it if you want to retain the appearance of the original amp. But if it's still in circuit and the 3-prong conversion hasn't been done properly, then it does need to be removed from circuit. Now, in that particular amp, a 3-prong conversion has been done, so when that cap does fail, it's just going to keep blowing your meter, because you're going to be leaking more than 5 milliamps to ground, so your isolator will break and it'll become extremely annoying. So there's no risk of, or there's very little risk of injury in that particular situation, but we're doing things properly and we'll get it removed. Jeffrey says about the Lazy J rebuild, he says, "It still shocks me and saddens me that it takes an experienced amp builder / designer like yourself to make an already very expensive amplifier work properly. People are putting in a lot of money to get a functioning amp. That being said, I love watching you and it is impressive." Well, yes it is. But, you know, there are many industries where the manufacturer of an item doesn't offer the upgrades and the solutions that customers are after. They might really love the product they've got, but they can't get the solution, the answer, the result that they want by going back to the manufacturer. I'm thinking of the car industry a lot. You know, you might have a car that you really love, it's your dream car, whatever, but you can't go back to Ford and say, well, can I have this done to it? Can I have this engine put into it? Can I have upgraded suspension and bits and pieces of that? You can't get that from the manufacturer. And so you go to the aftermarket and you get it done. There are many companies out there who offer these solutions that the customer wants. And I offer a similar thing to various guitar amplifiers, not just Lazy J's. I've just opened the Headstrong program up as well. So if you've got a Headstrong amp, starting with the Little King and the Little King S, you want me to get rid of that Auburn board and put an FR4 board in there, you can do. And then we've got various options for going from, you know, just tweaking the lead dress to a full rewire as well. So yeah, I'm offering more and more upgrades to these amplifiers, which, I mean, let's face it, the manufacturer should be offering this stuff from the beginning, you know, because then I wouldn't need to offer it, right? But if the customer wants it, they're happy to pay, it's not compulsory, of course, then they can come to me and have the work done, and, you know, it helps keep a roof over my head. General Ethos says, hello Chris, nice twin. I have a question about the replacement eyelet board. This is on the silver panel master volume twin reverb. When you replace the board, do you still keep the underboard in place to keep any errant wires or solder components from accidentally grounding themselves out to the chassis? Thanks for your wonderful videos. I hope to one day make a single channel hand-wired pro reverb. Very nice. And when I do, I was wanting to use a better board than the ones that Fender used in the old amps. No, I don't use an underboard. Reason being is that I mount the FR4 boards on standoffs, 1/4-inch standoffs on Fender style stuff, 3/8 standoffs on my Marshall style stuff, just because the transformer bolts stick through further. So no, I don't use an underboard, just raise the board up further inside the chassis. But yeah, interested to hear about your single channel pro reverb. I assume you're going to keep the tremolo and reverb, so you're not just going to do the left-hand channel. Be interesting to know more about that. Would you still keep it as a 2x12? Or would you go for a different speaker configuration? I always thought a nice 1x12 format. If you're going to do a single channel, 1x12 would be a great little pedal platform amp, portable, you know, enough power, 45, 50 watts. And because you don't need that super wide chassis, you can keep it quite compact, right? So, you know, smaller than a deluxe reverb. So yeah, why not? Why not indeed? Do you remember the intro to last Wednesday's video where I had a close-up of the rattling filament in a GZ34? Well, Gringo Pig, regular commenter, says another TAD fault. I had a set of TAD 6L6 WGC STR go bad with crackling at startup, so I put a brand new set of the same and biased up, and the new set did the same thing. Tongue soles in and no problem. I think they are selling Duff products these days, so I'm going with tongue sole 6L6s from now on. I also have a deluxe reverb with a bright cap on a push-pull. Well, I disagree. Out of all the brands of valves that I buy, I send less TADs back than any others. Tube Amp Doctor, to me, are great and have been great. Now, with any product, bathtub, curb, we've talked about this before, you'll always get failures. But the important thing for me is to get these things properly graded and pay for the extra testing and selection. Don't just buy the cheapest ones you can find, because that's when you do find the crap ones. You get crap ones with all things. You know, speaking of tongue soles, I've just sent, you know, a batch of theirs back, or their 12 AX7s, because they're all microphonic, you know, so it's just the way it is. And so I wouldn't particularly attribute failures to a particular brand. More, I would say it's more down to the selection, burn-in and grading process that goes with it. So just, you know, pay for the extra testing, buy the good ones. Don't just cheap out, because you will get the crap ones. We talked about this before. I think that's the first red-based TAD GZ34 that I've had go noisy. I mean, it was still working, so on a tester it would have been fine. You stick it on a valve tester and it would have tested absolutely great, you know, strong emissions, great output, all that kind of stuff. But in that amplifier, in that application, you could see the filament was dancing about, doing the twist, and yeah, needed to be replaced. So, but that's the way it is. It's just, valves are the inside of a combo is the worst place for a valve to be, and yet we stick them in there all the time. So it does make me laugh, but I get your point, Gringo. I understand that. It's just I wouldn't put it down to bit tad. I'll put it down to that's an old valve anyway. It's probably got quite a few hours on it. So yeah, just the way it is. Balin says, hi Chris, as always great content including the racing updates. Well, thank you for tuning in. I always appreciate it when people take their time to choose my videos over doom scrolling on their phones, so thank you very much. He says, as you may recall from previous questions, I'm a hobby builder and so far all of my amps have been fixed bias. I'm thinking of building a cathode biased amp for my next build. Is there any benefit, is there any benefits between choosing fixed or cathode bias? Tonally there is, yeah, because the way the amplifier produces certain harmonics. Fixed bias is more efficient, so you get more power from the output stage. Think of it as with cathode bias, the valve is running all the time, whereas in fixed bias, there's a tiny little moment where it switches off and cools down for a split second, and therefore, because it has that rest period, you can push the time when it is working slightly harder. Also, I've always done the 1 ohm cathode resistor measurement, converting millivolt to milliamp for my bias readings. If I go for a cathode bias design, will this still work, and should I place the 1 ohm resistor between my cathode and the bias resistor, or the bias resistor and ground? You don't need to. Ohm's law is your friend. Just measure across the cathode resistor that you choose. Probably it will be 270 ohms or 470 ohms. They're the pretty standard values. I assume it's a 2-valve amp you're doing. Current is voltage divided by resistance, right? So, your voltage drop 25 volts or whatever it will be across there, divided by the resistance gives you your milliamps, and then you divide by how many valves you've got. That's how you calculate your bias. The 1 ohm thing is just to make an easily one-to-one conversion. You don't need to add them if you're doing a cathode biased. I'm in the wrong lane, damn. If you're doing a cathode biased amp. So there is that. The other benefit to cathode bias, of course, is the self-biasing, in that you can just plug and play another set of valves and off you go. Of course, we always recommend that you check where they are in case you're wildly off, but if you're buying good quality valves and you haven't built the amplifier in a weird way, then actually I wanted to go this way. I wasn't in the wrong lane. You'll end up okay. So there. Going this way. It was trying to take me down the motorway, but I know, because I did check the traffic in advance, there's a bit of traffic on there because of an accident, so we'll go through the rat run and be fine with it. It's just I've got a trailer on the back, so you don't want to end up going on a weird route. Oh, that makes sense. Great question, though. Amp Focus says, hi Chris, I think I've watched just about all of your videos. Well, thank you very much. But I can't recall ever seeing you use a valve tester. Do you use one in your shop or just rely on measuring voltages and current with your digital multimeter? Thanks for all these great videos. I have 3 valve testers and they're all gathering dust because they're one of those tools which are nice to have, and there's sometimes you do need to use a valve tester for whatever reason, but actually in my day-to-day shop work I actually end up using them very, very little, because valve testers really, the ones I've got, tell me 2 things. they tell me if there's a short in the valve, and they tell me basic emissions, right? They're not super fancy testers that allow me to do valve matching and stuff like that to transconductance and stuff like that. But honestly, I just don't need them. The best tester you've got is the amp itself. You'll know if a valve's failed because a fuse will have popped. You can test for shorts with a voltmeter across pins, easy enough. And because I use oscilloscopes and things, and I can do signal tracing and stuff like that, I can tell when a valve isn't working the way it's intended to. But crucially, what a guitar amplifier can do, which most valve testers can't, is listen for microphonics and noise and stuff like that. So I know if a valve is noisy, it might test great on the tester, it might have no shorts, it might have good output, but if it's noisy, the only way I know that is in the amp itself. And being that this is an audio device, that's arguably the most important thing. So yes, I've got testers, but I rarely actually use them. It's very rare that I actually pull one out and actually use them. Different from when I'm doing radio work, although. So yeah, it's one of those things that you never actually use them as much as you think. I learn more from measuring a valve in a circuit and doing all my tests on the test bench than I do with an actual valve tester. So yeah, that's the answer really. I might actually put some of my valve testers up for sale because they just don't get used. And there's probably some good money in them. Just doing the reassembly on this J20, and do you remember when it arrived, whoever boxed it up had got a load of packing tape on the speaker bell? So I'm just trying to clean that up, and it's taking longer than I'd expected because it's pretty stuck on there, this residue, and I'm just being really careful. So wrapping it all up because I don't want to damage the cone. So get some old towels and bits and pieces, properly wrap it up because I don't want to get any IPA or any cleaner on the cone itself. And then I've already managed to take some off already, but it's just a case of, whoops, didn't mean for that to happen. Spray some onto my tissue paper, kitchen roll. I'm also trying not to get any on the Celestian label itself. So I'm just working around very slowly. It does come off, but oh my God, this takes a long time. Right, there we go then. A little bit there. But overall, that's looking much better now. I'm very happy with that. Yep. Very pleased indeed. Come on, camera. There we go. Right. Moving on. Sean Bailey says, I love the buy a t-shirt plug on your bald spot. I understand after losing a ton of hair at 38, I know how it feels. I actually got quite a bit of flack from this, saying, I shouldn't be making jokes like that. And I think, why? I'm laughing at myself. I'm not laughing at anyone else. But also, I've always done that. I've always loved self-deprecating humour, make light of a situation. I'm not ashamed of losing my hair. It's what happens. I am annoyed because I did always want to be have a full head of grey hair when I got older. When I grew up, I got older. But I'm losing my hair, and you can either roll with it or not. And I think it's quite funny actually, just to, if I'm accidentally gonna film my bald spot on camera when I'm working on amplifier, may as well make light of it and have a bit of laugh and give you guys something to laugh at. I don't care. I'm not that vain, right? So who cares? But yeah, I do enjoy it. What the hell's going on here? Yeah. So that's it really. I hope you all enjoy it. I thought it was pretty fun. I'll keep doing it, and it also means that you lot get to keep an eye on the progress of me losing my hair. It's funny actually. I turned 40 in a couple of months, and that means it's 10 years of me losing my hair so far. I remember sitting on a beach the year that I turned 30, did 2 days on a beach in Cornwall, and I was like, why does my head hurt so much? What was going on here? And then Mrs. Rift said, you do realise you're losing your hair? And I was like, no, I'm not. She goes, here you are. Turns out, she's right, I was. So I've been losing it slowly. It's getting worse and worse. And you just, you know, get on with life, right? So, never mind. I shall keep advertising on my bald spot for likes and subscribes. All done and dusted. Another J20, fully rebuilt, fully rewired, brought up to all the latest specs. FR4 board with keystone eyelets, Bourne's potentiometers, including the switched tone pot. Grounding scheme improved, mains improved, all of those bits and pieces. This one's had the full works. I was half expecting to need to replace the 6L6s, but actually they perform and sound so sweet that this thing is great. So customers paid his bill, we're all done. I've just got to box this thing back up and it's going back to France. So there is another one on its way into me, this time in J10, which I'm not shown you guys on the channel before, but that one's in for pretty much the full works. That one does not have reverb or trem, so it's just a straight up chassis build on that. But yeah, really, really pleased. I'm sure the customer will be too. It looks great, it sounds great, and now it performs great as well. Well, that's it then, guys. Thank you very much for watching once again. As always, please give this video a thumbs up. All of your comments and questions down below. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. If you're feeling super generous, why not buy a t-shirt or join the channel like these guys have, and I will catch you all at the next one. May as well take some time to talk about the fleet then. My fleet of vehicles. So currently in the Freelander 2, nothing wrong with this car at the moment, running great. I've only got, the only job I want to do on it is the front brake pads. They don't need doing, but I don't know what brand they are. And tell you, I have 2 jobs. I want to do the front brake pads and I wanted to do a complete brake flush. So that's what this car needs. Apart from that, it's absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not gonna, it's gonna do the winter absolutely fine. I did all the fluids, or the rest of the fluids, sorry. So I managed to find a genuine set of Land Rover front brake pads from a dealer that had them on offer, just 40 quid. And the retail price is like 110. So yeah, they're clearing. Obviously, they were having a clear out. So snag those. So they're going to go on at some point, even though I don't think they actually need doing. But I want to get the calipers off, grease the slider pins, do all that kind of stuff, you know. I do like to do preventative maintenance on the vehicles. That's this car. The van, good old trusty van. I bought a smoke machine because there is a boost leak somewhere, and because it chucks a bit of black smoke out the back. Always has done, but it does appear to be getting slightly worse. So I know there's a boost leak, so we're going to smoke the intake, and I will film that for the channel because I think you guys will find it interesting. And I'll show you what we find when we do that. But apart from that, the van also needs front bottom ball joints, the rubber boots. One of them's got a split in it, and it's got an MOT coming up in a couple of months, so we've got to get all that done. And I've got to do in the front suspension top mounts on the coilovers. There are bearings, and they're known to go. I suspect they do need doing. Am I going straight on here? Yes, I am. So that all needs doing, but of course, if I'm taking those off, I'm going to put new front dampers on it. That's, you know, more wire in their jobs, and it needs a bit of welding as well. So that's going to get done at some point. Apart from that, it's fine. Yeah, got the tow bar wiring sorted. It was playing up a bit. Oh, I know where I am. Where am I going, actually? I want the A43. Oh, I'm in the wrong lane now. Absolutely messed this one up. go. Matey boy gave me some space. Thank you very much. So yeah, that's the van. The red Mazda on the back, as I said before, it's going in for gearbox, clutch, suspension, steering work. For next year, I've got to get the rear damper serviced, and it will go in for a full setup and service and sort out. So that will be it's actually pretty minimal work, to be honest. Is there anything else it needs? Just a nut and bolt check. I'm sure we'll find some bits and pieces. Wheel bearings, maybe. I always do the fronts every year anyway. And we'll check the rears. I've got new rears ready to go in knuckles, so I can just swap those on. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see what we need to do. But the car's been fine. The major issue with it, of course, was the gearbox, which already getting sorted. The silver BMW race car, that's having a new engine fitted over the winter. So remember, I lent it to my friend at Donington, and he money shifted it, blew the engine up. So that's getting a new engine. Engine's arrived. I showed it on the channel, so that's going to be installed. And then whilst all that's apart, more while you're in there, jobs, give it a full check. Got some brake hoses that need doing. The rear handbrake shoes need doing. So you just put some real cheap, nasty ones on there, because it's only used to hold the car in position. There is also the dampers have got to go off for servicing, so they need pulling off and getting done at some point, but I don't know how crucial that is. And then, so once that's all back together, we can take that up to my friend at Grip Lab and get, am I going the right way? Yeah. A full corner weight and set up on that, because I'm going to be racing both cars next year at various points. So we need to get that done. And what's the other thing? Road kart, van, 2 race cars. Mrs. Riff's car, that's the other one. Mrs. Riff's car, it needs a new front tyre. Is that it? I'm sure it needs something else. I need to check the service log, see what's due on it. Probably due for another set of spark plugs now, but a little high and die. Although I am on the hunt for another Freelander 2, because I want an automatic one. And so I think what we'll do is I'll drive the auto, she can have this one, and then we'll just sell her car to help to get some money back. But we'll see, who knows? But yeah, I'm on the hunt for one. Problem with Freelander 2s is they have problems with rusty subframes, especially the rear subframe. So you've got to find one that's either had the rear subframe replaced, or one that's just in really good condition, and then you can do some rust prevention measures on it and stuff like that. So I'm just on the hunt out for a nice, I want a Euro 4, so it doesn't have a DPF, automatic, that's nice bodywork, silver, black, red, grey. They did one in really nice green, like a very dark British racing green, but they all came with the beige leather interior, which I don't like. So yeah, so I'm on the hunt for one of those as well. Have I got too many cars? Oh, and that was the other thing. Another race car's come up for sale. Now, I've always wanted to race rear-wheel drive, and I do race rear-wheel drive. I've got 2 rear-wheel drive race cars, the Mazda and the E36 Compact. But a little front-wheel drive classic hot hatch has come up for sale, race car, for very little money, although it is a long way away, and I know the owner. So I'm quite tempted. I'm really tempted, but I think Mrs. Rift will absolutely rip my head off if I buy another race car. We'll see, who knows. Anyway, right, I'm nearly there at my friend's garage to drop this car off. Hopefully he'll let me do some filming and show around, and we'll have a look. But yeah, cracking on.